I'm here today with the lovely Angel. Hello, Angel.
Good morning
It
or
is morning
afternoon,
for
evening.
him, afternoon for me. What it is we're going to have a 5-minute chat, and then we're going to go over to Facebook, and Angel's going to present something, but you won't hear me. Not that you'll mind anybody, but you won't hear me. But what it was is the last hangout we did, I was doing things, and I was going, I can't do it, and it just didn't look that good, did it, Angel?
Well, it didn't flow as smoothly as I wanted to. And I noticed in one or two spots you were focusing on an area that wasn't exactly what I was discussing, which makes it hard for people to really
But you could
visualize.
go
Yes,
over that today, couldn't you, quickly?
if I controlled the camera, then I
You will control the camera in about 4 minutes.
You got it. It's
Yeah.
not a problem. So, how's everything else been spinning?
Well, I was just saying it's very hot here, like about nearly 100 Fahrenheit, which would be then your midsummer or something, wouldn't it? It's very hot in England at the moment.
Yeah, that sounds like and you're very moist, so it's like sounds like a Florida weather. Mosquitoes love it.
It's just not so nice to work in when it's humidity like, because you just don't want to do it.
You want to take a shower every time you turn around.
Yeah, and when you have a shower, you want to take another shower.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I thought was we'll just have a few minutes chatting to each other, and then we're going to go over and Angel's going to do his whiteboard and everything, and you won't hear me, we'll just hear Angel, but he might go, what did you say? Because I might ask him a question. Yes, that might happen, mightn't it?
And I will try to repeat the question so everyone understands it.
Oh, that's okay. As long as you tell the answer, that's the most important bit.
I get you there.
Well, we've been going for 2 minutes, not 5 minutes. Do you want to go over to Facebook?
Well, we can do that right now. That would be
okay. Fine. We'll be back.
All right, so the first thing I do is I'm using Google Earth right now, but you can use Google Maps, but you'll see that Earth works out well. 29,979, 31,134. That's the quickest, easiest, shortest number you can get to, and that'll drop you right there. Now, that's the Great Giza Pyramid. Now, what I wanted to show you, we're actually going to start in the middle of the system with this structure right here. Now, I'm going to start from the beginning because last week was a bit rough. So this is the primary one. I call that Anna. This one's the secondary unit, Barbara, and this one is Carolina, ABC. So the system visually, the middle of it is right here. So we're going to start. We're going to go down here. Now this area, if you want, you can go to moon.greatgizapyramid.com and it'll drop you right about here. But I can do it myself really quickly. It's actually right after the curve because I like it's kind of behind this rock. This rock comes out and does a little jet. Yes, I am here. Can you hear me? Please tell me I'm recording. I'm going to continue just in case. That right there, let's look at it from above again real quick. I can't get to my X very quickly. Where is, oh, that's because I'm not using Google Maps. You'll notice right here, there is a wall here and it comes at an angle. It doesn't do that mistakenly. It's there itself. And it jots out here and this comes out and does that L shape back. I guess it's easier if we put our little guy right down here to get eyes on it, but you need to be able to see it from above too, that it actually does, when it gets to the here, it does curve, and this comes out and it curves the other way. So they kind of do, oh, you can't see my hands, but the helping hands type gesture. Now, right here along the ground, there are holes, and we'll get into that. The top part is phase one. This area underneath here is kind of phase one, and we'll get into that after you appreciate the first part. But so where we were, sorry, I keep jumping back and forth, but your screen or your recording should get it. We're going to repair this right here. We're going to put these bricks back in here, and we're just going to start dumping water into here. Now, in reality, it is going to be coming out of these holes, but just consider filling this pool right here. Now, this pool is only about, we're going to say this here is only about 18 inches tall, and this pool holds only about 9 to 12 inches of water. But for right now, we're going to start dumping water in, and it's going to fill this entire pool. Now it's going to start working its way up. Now the easiest way to get there is spillway, SPILLWAY dot Great Giza Pyramid, Great Giza Pyramid.com, and that'll put us at a spot that I have already pre-selected right there, and we're looking at the spillway. Now the water is going to creep around the edge here. Now what you don't appreciate is that this edge from this side to this side only has about a 6 inch difference. And it's actually that way intentional. The edge here is on an angle, and you can really tell if you go to the corner and look at this white bottom lip, and then you come all the way down here and you look at it, it gets wider and wider. That's because this is more level and the ground is actually not. And that will allow the water to creep up along the edge. And then when it gets to here, it will actually spill in. Now it will start filling this unit. And for that, we went to barb.greatgizapyramid.com. And it will fill the entire structure right here being ground level all the way up through here, and we'll say about halfway up through the elevation of this room. It's going to fill the entire substructure. This is going to take a lot of time, and we'll get into details of all the other stuff, but just imagine it filling this entire structure. Now, as it's filling this entire structure, we're going to go to wedge.greatgizapyramid.com. There, I have a pre-selected picture already, or location already. That's right here. Now, just so people know where we are right here, and this wedge is this right here. And you can see the channel that we're going to look at that goes into the structure. So we get back to wedge. And when we're looking at wedge, one thing that I had overlooked until I was actually looking for it. Come on, get back there. Now it's not, you always have to make sure you get rid of the S. I do not pay for a secure website. Okay, here we are at wedge, and you notice there's like a cannonball hole right there. And there's the channel that goes back. Now, this right here is where, when this whole area is filling, it gets to the elevation right, and you notice that's right. It's kind of half above and half below. In fact, I'm going to suggest to you that halfway through here, at exactly, it's going to be 3 inches below the 65-foot mark, the 65-foot mark being the lip. You can't see it from here, but the lip, I'll show you it. It would be at, not Jessica, it's Lynn.greatgizapyramid is the waterfall, or the spillway is I call it really more of a waterfall. This area right here, as it comes up around the corner, is going to saturate this area, but this whole area is designed to bring the water along the side. It's teasing it along. Eventually the flow will get to the point where it will spill over that edge, but it teases it along this edge all the way down and into the flow. And at the time, you see these openings here, will bring the water into this area here I call the chessboard, where it's going to bake up the sun, and we're going to talk about what it does from there. And then after it bakes up the sun through here, it actually flows. Yes, go ahead, ask a question. I'm going back to the picture. Uh-huh. These, okay, that's Jessica. Jessica dot great Giza pyramid. PYR. You know what? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to type ggiza.com because I own that domain too. And I make it so, why is it? Oh, because it didn't get the second G. And because that makes it, it's less for me to type. There it goes. Okay. This area right here is Jessica. Now, the so it's a little bit more into the communication. Jessica's more communication. And you know how I showed you with the hot tub, how the elevations of the pillars in the hot tub were denoting things? After I suggest to you what's going on in here, we can really discuss what's happening. But let's just go with the liquid, which I'm going to suggest to you is water, actually comes through here. It circles around here and out, and it circles around here and out, and some of it comes down to the edge and circles around here and out. And you can just see that because you can see it in the flow of the discoloration. Let's jump back to it real quick. The flow of the discoloration. Here's what I was saying, where it comes in, flows out there, and here it comes in, comes out, and flows out here. It goes in here to that pool I was talking about, or trying to talk to you about last week, the wedge pool. If we go back to wedge right here, you notice here there is a pool. This lady is standing in a pool. See here, it comes up. Some of it will flow over. This whole system is always flowing, but the water here will be pooled until it can spill out this way, and it maintains so that the water in this control area right here is always at 1/2 the elevation of this opening. And that is always going to be lower than the opening at the spillway, because the spillway is actually going to wind up where the water flow is going to, as we increase the flow rate, is going to be above that by 3 inches. So the water, let me get back to wedge. The water on the edge side over there is going to be 3 inches higher here than the water over here, which will mean that no matter what, no matter how you work it, no matter what happens inside the structure, the pressures will be that the water will be coming in because of gravity, in from the spillway and out of this hole. No matter how violent or what happens inside, the overall flow will be in there and out here, gravity 101. This level here can never get higher than that side because it spills out through here, or it spills out through here. It won't actually back out through here because the elevation of the water here is coming from 3 inches higher. So the flow will always be out here and will always be out here, and will flow into the pool to make sure it's at that elevation, and then it will flow into here as well and out. And that's, you can just imagine that by dumping, mentally dump lots of 50-gallon drums of water. And I don't have to make any of this up. The structure's already there. So what that will ensure is at all times through this structure, there is going to be a flow. Now, what I was pointing out, this is, I don't know why it won't let me move the, I'm not familiar with doing this particular screen share, so sorry about that. This is the structure inside the second pyramid, and anyone can get to this by going to barb.greatgizapyramid.com. In fact, if you really want, you can go to Barbara home.greatgizapyramid.com. And that actually brings you to a share that I have where I stick photos and images that are specifically for this unit. So anyone can go and look at this particular structure and critique it. And if you have better images or images you want me to add, I'm willing to share. I try to make this as difficult as anyone to understand it. So at any time, at all times, the water here, and you could just, no one has to make this up. This is this is just, science 101. Density. It is density. And it also, this is at a higher elevation. The water here mathematically will always be at a higher elevation because there's no way to cap the water at the wedge point right here because it will spill out. So that will ensure the flow of the water through the system in one direction. Now, what I was going to go to is Kim dot Great Giza Pyramid. Actually, it had it already there for me, so I don't have to type it all out. Here we are in that room, eyes on the room. And you notice right here, there's a hole. Now that hole is actually right here. This is the blueprints for that room in more detail. Goes down, we're going to say 3-4 feet below ground level. And the hole outside is actually going to sit, it would sit about this elevation if we were outside. Okay. And what that is going to do is this is going to be like pulling the plug on your tub, only your tub can never go down because if we jump back to Barb, where the heck is Barb? There it is. The tub can never really go down because it's being filled from here. But it will still have a downward flow, which is how the system, the direction of the system. And we're going to mathematically put the water in this section here in a state of confusion. And I'll get to that in a bit. But can you see the flow? I'm asking you, Karen, all right. So that is just science 101. Now from here, once the flow is occurring and we have this water in a confused state because it's being, the floor is being pulled out from beneath it, and it's going to go down into the, through the piping, which actually comes out, it actually comes out from this side and circles back. But that's because it has to deal with the interlocking pressures, but that we'll get way more into that down the road. But as the water flows through here, it's going to fill this whole section as well. And now is where the magic happens that I have to discuss the other sections in order to fully appreciate this. We're going to talk real quick about whole.greatgizapyramid.com. And this brings us to the hole. This hole is on the other side of from where Barbara, where's the Barb picture? Let me go back to my Barb picture. There it is. It is, if this is the entrance, it is okay. It is located over here. And this will maintain the pressure within this system so that the water cannot go below certain elevations and not go above certain elevations. The intention is if it goes above, well, let me step back about to here. You can, oh no, that was too far. Go here. Dang it. Try there. Yeah, I guess that's it. If it comes above this elevation, it will spill out. And the waters in here, which we'll be discussing eventually, they'll be fighting back and forth. But you can see it can never come above this elevation because there's just nothing there to cap it. but that elevation is actually above this elevation by about the amount of that crack right there, so that the waters here can be at a higher elevation than the other side, but they will always be at a higher elevation to some degree, because this whole plateau, that's what I should point out, is patio dot greatgizapyramid.com. It points out that this whole area here is about an inch or two above the actual spillway. So the waters here by default are going to be always at about 2/3 the elevation of this pool. So they will make sure that the flow is actually always coming in from this side and will always be at a higher pressure than this side. It's kind of like the backflow to the system. Sure. These grates, that's put there so people don't fall in it. I guarantee that that was not part of the original system. They would have rusted a long time. Well, yeah, this is about a foot in diameter. This is like a cannon. Okay. And this here is, 2, 3 feet deep. And this is the water coming out of here is, I'm not sure at what pressure, but it's designed so that the water coming out of here is shot across this valley. And no matter what, come hell or high water, the pressures in there, the pool, the pressures in here, even though it's going to be a moving fluid water, will always have the pressure of less than the other side, and this one will always be greater than that side and greater than this side. So it's ensuring the flow of the system. Well, that in order to appreciate how they do it, you have to see the flow of the system, and then I'll get into building the system. This is just the basic. This system gets very violent, but in order for you to say, hey, you have a tornado, how are you pushing it around? You have to say we have a high pressure front here and a low pressure front there, and it will move from the high pressure front to the low pressure front. Here I'm saying this water is going to be a large volume of it, and it's going to be at elevation X. This is this over here, what I'm pointing to, it should really point to it this direction. They, in the system, they do separate the water as it flows through the system. They quarantine and separate the water as it flows through the system. And I guess there's a necessary flow that has to be occurring. All of the water is not what they're looking for. They are trying to cherry pick what I believe to be the heavy water elements, the deuterium. They are cherry picking the deuterium out of the water. That if that's what you're looking for, but I kind of wanted to show the system. If I say, hey, spaceships landed on it, without showing you where the gas pumps are and the water and all the other pieces, no one would believe me. In this case, I don't think aliens land on it. A drop where the houses are. She said there's a drop. This here, when you say the houses, or this down here. Okay. Yeah, well, this whole, I do have terrain. I think, well, it's at photos, which again, I try to make this as difficult as possible. Photos.greatgizapyramid.com will get you to a bunch of photos. And within these bunch of photos, the ones that are right here, I'm looking for the terrain. She was discussing how the area down here is actually at a lower elevation than the structures. Each of the structures, this one sits at a elevation where its base is said to be at 60 feet. Now I'm working with that number. This one's 65 feet. This one's 70. Now I'd like to get it down to the millimeter, but for right now I'm working with semi-rough numbers because the system works no matter what. The fine numbers will actually just get us the fine tuning of the pressures involved. Everything can be broken down to foot per square inch of power. I believe, I currently believe, after you see the entire structure, that the entire plateau was terraformed. They did eh, um, they did carve out and build this entire area, um, the tunneling underneath everything, and you really don't believe that until you see all the pieces and parts, and that's why I was trying to build up to it slowly. But let's go back real quick to not that picture, the other one. There. Okay. Now you've got to trust me that anywhere within the system, if I have anything, if the opening is above this section, above this mark, which we're saying is, I'm suggesting it was 3 inches below the 65-foot mark. Um, and we're basically everything is off either the circle at the wedge, or you can go off of that plateau I was pointing to you at. I mean, everything is in increments of approximately 3 inches because they liked to make everything clean. They really do. Everything above the 65-foot mark is going to be, this is our baseline, is what I'm saying. From there, if you jump to the Great Giza Pyramid, which is anna.greatgizapyramid.com, that one should bring us, it brought me to the wrong places. So let's go to pictures. Let's go back to pictures. And we go to Anna. In here, I want to pull up, this is a horrible drawing, but it's still a drawing. In the grotto, the area in the grotto, everything in the grotto, the roof line of the grotto, all this is underwater in compared to the other structure. The roof line of the grotto, which do I have I have pictures, actual pictures somewhere. Sorry. There are yeah, there are actual photos in, there it is. Okay, that's not the grotto. I just pictured that guy because he's in the photo. Why? It's what happens when I separate things is I lose them. The grotto itself, there, that picture is in the grotto. So the roof line above his head is going to be, we are submerged in comparison to the other structure. And this is one of the keys, because as this whole structure, as the Anna structure comes to pressure, the pressure within the system stops the flow of the, I'm going to suggest you they're liquids that come into the structure and push back against the other structure. To maintain the pressure is actually the Karen room. Okay, and the Karen room, with an E, I spelt it wrong. How come? Okay, I'm allowed to misspell your name. You're not. Okay, this room right here, this here is going to be at the 70-foot mark. This is your 65-foot mark, and this down here is your 60-foot mark. This will allow the gases that we're going to be playing with to have a pressure which will push down strong enough until they bubble out here, and that will maintain the pressure within that structure. And as they push down, they will choke off the inflow, pushing back against the water from the Barbara structure that we already discussed. And we know the pressures involved because when we look at the Barbara unit, we go back to it, we have the pressure here, which is always going to be the liquid at 65 feet. The pressure coming in from the other side, which will be less water, but coming in through the hole, will always be at 65 feet plus 3 inches. And that's going to be a variable because as that water, which is kind of splashing down, it doesn't maintain a pool. When we were looking at it, wherever I was, when it's maintaining a pool, this pool is always flowing out. But I'm going to suggest to you right now that out of the hole that I pointed out to you, the first one, the one that was hiding behind the rock, it's actually going to be like a fire hose. It's going to have water coming out at a great pressure, and it's going to be spraying up at about a 45-degree angle, and its target is right here, that dimple on the surface of the structure. It goes up and then comes back down. That water is going to be a lot of it and will be flowing down through these rocks into this pool. This will maintain a pool here, which will always be flowing out. It will always be flowing. It can't get sealed because there's nothing here to seal it, but it will maintain a constantly changing average of liquid pressure. This liquid pressure will sometimes be great and sometimes will be less, but will always be more than the other side, the entrance, the spillway. Yes, nothing. In fact, the elevation here, if you were to take and you put your cell phone on here and get the elevation to the millimeter feet above sea level, should be 1 inch below the spillway entrance. That will maintain a density that this water will always be more than the other side. This always mathematically, this entrance here always mathematically needs to be higher, greater pressure, even by 1 milli. Yes, a line on the other pyramid going down. The land. Oh, yes. This right here, this right here is at an angle. This area here is about 90 feet above sea level. This area here is at 70 feet above sea level. This right here, this structure sits on land 70 feet above sea level. Right here, we're at just above 65. In fact, this right here should be just below 65 feet above. In fact, that should be about 65 feet above sea level. This should be below 65 feet above sea level because this is in tune with, in cue with the spillway, and the spillway is 3 inches below 65 feet above sea level. And this here should be about 3 inches above 65 feet above sea level. So the density of the water here is always pushing down into the system, having a backflow. That backflow will come important later, but for right now, I want you to understand all these elevations, and there's no way on God's green earth that this water will ever allow the flow to come this way, other than every now and then when there's, violent things happening. But the average will always maintain that this water is flowing in at a very low rate, but is always flowing in, always providing a back pressure. No matter how violent this system gets, this water always has a way out. And you can see here it's pooled. I don't have to make it up. It's pooled and then runs down this way through and out here to the plateau. Now, let me point out the plateau really quick because I think I love the area. I call it delta. This here is delta. Now, if you know the Greek symbol delta, it kind of looks like a pyramid, and you can see several of them. Now, this is broken down into 4 different areas. You have the alpha area, which starts at that rock. Starts at the same rock I was discussing before. This white one right there, which, I'm backwards. This guy right here, that's the math. That hole, this rock, everything's going to work off of that math. Okay. You notice from there, if we were to draw straight lines across the plateau over to here, you see right here, this area is alpha. Okay. This area is alpha. This area, this where this edge is over here, should be 1 inch above the 65-foot spillway here. That will maintain that the liquid on this plateau is always greater than the liquid on this side, the whole side over here. Now, it has, and if you stand right here, I call this area heather. It's actually, yeah, no, it's that one right there. We're looking the wrong way. You can see that this is very, very flat. There's only, I'm going to suggest to you, a 3-inch deviation from the lowest point to the highest point. And that 3-inch deviation will always be lower than the lip of the whole spillway, and always be the bottom of it will always be higher than the waterfall, the lin, the area I suggested on the other, the area over here, always be higher than that. This way, the liquid in here, it will be flowing, and we're going to direct its travel, but it will maintain an elevation within that narrow, razor thin 3-inch wire. The water will be flow here. It will not go down. The floor of this will not go down in elevation, but it gets wider as it goes, so that the liquid is directed the direction my mouse is going. Okay. Now, here you see another delta shape, and this one is actually split into 2 pieces. Piece number 2 is beta. Yes, 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 kind of does. Okay. One area right here is beta. Now, one of the reasons I know this is I've seen the blueprints in the Nazca line, so I'm cheating a tiny bit. In fact, I think it's actually this right here is beta. This is maintained at an elevation, which the floor line of it is the same as the elevation of the spillway. So this gives it a slightly deeper, you know, kind of an antenna, a ground. It technically is the way to put it. It's ground. It's pressure. The amount of pressure it has is going to be less than this, but it will fill up about a 1/4 inch higher before spilling over. In fact, if you look at some pictures, this one's not a good one, you can kind of see where there was a spillway, and the spillway was about 6 feet. So it would fill up here and then spill over into alpha and then spill out. And it would maintain a pool constantly. Now, it's filled from over here is what I call gamma. Now, alpha, beta, gamma. It is actually where you're going to get the most backflow of all of this water coming down, coming into here. And when you look at it, you can visually see it is actually where you get a higher, because it goes up against the edge of the wall here. You see it actually goes up. So any waters are pooled here, and you can see they're destroying these pools. You see all these mounds of dirt here? That's because they don't appreciate the skill, effort, time that went into the constructing of this structure. They totally are destroying it. Anyway, you can see here, this would be when the water is falling, the spray is coming out of this hole. This is going to be violent. Wind is blowing all this, you know, it's like being at a water park. Anybody standing over here, by the way, you don't want to be standing over here, but this person would be being drenched right now. but the water would be falling, it would pool here, and it would come out. Now, when it comes out and it pools into this gamma section, this is actually built like a Star Trek thing. If you, I don't know if I can actually, this right here, if you look at it, I was calling it a boomerang, but I like the Star Trek analogy. This pool here is actually going to be deeper, and it doesn't matter because it's always flowing out. It actually flows out primarily into beta, and then beta flows into alpha. But as it's flowing into beta, the reason it has the Star Trek thing is because it has that lip that comes down this way. The pool is primarily here. It primarily has its flow, sorry, it doesn't have primarily, it has its A flow into beta, but its primary flow is into delta. Delta is the one that actually goes down 3 feet. This actually goes down. It's hiding optically. If you were standing over here, it's behind this pool. You can kind of see that. It's behind this pool, which is maintained. This pool is always at a higher elevation than here. This is where the water is sneaking out of the system, and delta is hiding behind the pool. Delta is the one that actually maintains the pressure. Let's see if we can see by standing here. This is not where I want it to go. This will work. Delta is behind that pile of dirt. Delta is right here, and you can see that it goes down deeper. This is the pool of water that will be the maintained at a lower elevation than the pool of water here, a lower elevation than the heather area here where the hole is located, and even at a lower elevation than the Jessica and the chessboard area. And it will be maintained at this lower elevation, hiding behind these pools of water that are skimming that razor thin edge above the waterfall and below the lip line, the elevation of the pool in here, the moon pool. Now, with all that, can you appreciate the engineering that went into this? This is creating a system, an environmental system that when this water is coming out of here, spraying onto here, filling here, and then flowing, it's being brought out of the system quietly under guise. The extra water is being moved out, but maintaining a pressure at all times that scientifically will control the pressure and flow of the liquids. And the grotto area of the other structure is below in elevation 700, 800 feet away. It's actually more like a 1,300 feet away at an elevation which is within this environmental chamber. And now we can discuss, when you understand the environment, how when I discuss pressures and stuff, what's the controlling body. This here is the control for this structure, and you can see in elevation how it does. Now, I'm going to jump into the area here that I was talking about. This area mastabas, these actually, no, it has nothing to do with storing water. When you look at this elevation, she's asking about the mastabas, and I finally let nature tell me what they were doing. Is the depth that these holes go down to is going to be the same depth as the room in the Karen room. These are maintaining pressure, letting nature push down on the entire system. And when you look at the gases that we're dealing with and the pressures they have pushing up, some of this is communication and some of it is function. because they need to maintain density of the pressures in the entire system. And they are walking on a razor's edge as far as how they are controlling. They're like holding a bubble underwater. At the same time, they're holding a pool of water on top of the bubble, is really what they're doing. When you look at the structure of the entire system, let me find it. Bam. They are, this is the water. They are bringing it down into here, and then what we're going to do is we pull the floor out from underneath this water, so this water is constantly falling. We are going to create a higher pressure zone in here by, you don't see it. I don't know why you don't see it, but well, I guess you do. Right about here, it goes to earth, just like in the grotto. This will allow the water to naturally uh, give its energy, give or take its energy to Earth. And anytime you give or take energy, that's movement of electrons. And when that happens, every now and then there's going to be a discontinuity, and that's going to create a air bubble. In this case, the air bubble will be either hydrogen or oxygen, because water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So any gas bubble that comes out of it is either going to be hydrogen or oxygen. Now we manipulate the system to make sure that the hydrogen comes out where we want the hydrogen and the oxygen comes out where we want the oxygen. But in this case, it's oxygen that comes out of here and is actually going to play with this area here. If I can get to the other photos I have, I can skip back and forth between them. Hang on a second. Go into the barb, and we look in here. The gases, this section here is we're breaking this section here apart. Huh? Yeah, it is. It is. And when you understand what it's doing, you can, I mean, I don't have to make any of those. Somebody else made these blueprints. I'm just explaining them to you. We look at, I'm trying to get the different, this here, we're going to zoom in on this area and the stuff down here and this section. That's what I'm going to jump to right now. And so anyone can go back and look at this at your leisure. I make it very difficult to get to all of these images. I've given you all of the hyperlinks. Right here, naturally, we're just going to just suggest, just hold my thing when I say gases will form when you're pushing and pulling water. It will form, the water will, what you call break, snap, whatever you want to call it. They manipulate this to create a gas bubble here, which works its way down into the system here, creating a pressure which will take that pool of water, the pool of water in here, and will, yeah, you can't see my hand, it's hard. It's going to be pushing down on here, which will raise the surface tension of the water here up even a micro inch. It doesn't matter. It's enough that the liquid inside this room is now at a slightly mathematically higher elevation, and as such the water will flow down faster through that floor and out into the wedge, out the cannon, uh, exit, the one we looked at. In addition to that, they, well, we have to get to what else is happening. They play with it more. So this room actually winds up being under greater pressure because they keep toying with and raising the elevation of this pool, but the pool can never actually go higher in elevation because it will spill off the 65-foot spillway, the Lynn elevation. And I try to label these things so people can mentally get back to them. And, you know, I say it's the Lynn elevation because that spillway is the Lynn spillway, and that is at 65 feet. Now, again, if somebody wants to put their little cell phone there and get me the exact elevation, I will lock in the exact numbers, because mathematically we can go back and calculate the exact pressures involved. But for right now, I'm trying to work with clean numbers, so that people can appreciate this. Now, the grotto in elevation will be sitting like right here at elevation. In fact, when you compare this section here to the grotto, and when you then take and put the Karen room, the Karen room starts at an elevation at about here and goes down to an elevation of about here. You can start to appreciate and see how the system is all one big habit trail. Yes, it is. Yes, and how the pressures will push things back and forth, and um, now we go. Well, I don't know how much. Do you want me to answer any questions or go into any details before I start jumping? Yes, every like I said, they take this liquid that's in this pool and they bring it down here due to buoyancy. And once it's trapped in here, it's then immediately put under a tad bit of pressure. So it's now uncomfortable because it's no longer at just 1 atmospheric pressure, because you've put additional pressures on it. And once it gets into here, it's trapped. And I'm going to suggest to you it wants to go out, but it can't go out. It's trapped in the system. And the way the system works, it's actually like your toilet. It flushes, then it resets and fills. It flushes, resets, and fills. So there's gonna constantly be a pulsating of the exact pressures and elevations within this room, and that pulsating is what plays in here. And if I could get to the better pictures here, the pulsating is what. Where is the middle section? Come on. Here, I guess. This is a horrible picture, but it still shows it. I can't. The pulsating is going to be playing with the elevations in the room, and you can see if you had a less dense liquid here and a more dense liquid here, as it's bouncing up and down, it's going to be pushing one of them this direction, even though it's less dense, because it's bouncing up and down. Whichever one is the greater volume is going to start filling it here, and it's going to break that density bubble. And it actually, okay, so I'm not exactly sure where we are, but this is the underside of a view of the inside of the Barber structure. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you may find fanciful, but it's the truth either way. This whole section here, when you look at it, the liquid in here, I'm going to suggest you will be slightly under pressure. It doesn't matter exactly how much, but it'll be slightly under pressure because we are letting the gases separate, and we are capturing those gases and utilizing them to put this liquid under pressure. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to play with nature, and we're going to jump to an area which I call Wishing Well. Wishing Well dot greatgizapyramid.com. It is, well, if they haven't figured it out by now, this area right here, okay, I'm going to show you where it is, but I want you to put eyes on it. This area right here. Don't worry about the words on the screen. I don't agree with them. I just agree with the picture, and what the image is, because that right there is at 29,979. Hey, come on. Why do I not have my screen? 29. Come on. Where's my keyboard? 29,979, comma. Huh? It's okay. I'm working with it. I was hopping over here to show you something. Now you've. What was the last image I was looking at? Yeah, yes, but I'm trying to remember what the last thing I said was. Oh, the wishing well. The wishing well is located right here. It is this right here. Now, this right here is about 10 feet below the elevation of uh, the area out there. And I'm going to suggest to you that if we go back here, the roof line of the that wishing well is going to be right at the same level as this here, and the floor line of it should be right about below the elevation right here. And the lead to it should come out from right here. And what this will do is allow this section here to be uh, regrounded or re-equalized with nature outside, so that the pool of water in here is now at standard 1 atmospheric pressure, grounded to earth, nature outside, not using any tools, gauges, or anything other than Mother Earth as the gauge, and will allow the water in here to stand, to settle. And because the water outside, as we discussed, is under pressure, the water in the rest of the system is under pressure, this is where the gases will naturally bubble out of the water. You see how this is happening without, I don't have to, there are other forces involved, but they actually used, right, I don't have to make it up. And in addition to this, when you see the rest of the systems, all of these are what's referred to as force multipliers. If I boil the water and I put it under pressure, I can get it hotter. If I, it's like you do one thing, but then you add another factor to it just to plus it, gain of function if we're talking about the virus here. Anyway, so this is a method that I don't have to manufacture of getting the gases to release. Now, this will happen slowly, but through other methods, you will see it gets amplified. But even if it happens slowly, it's still happening. Now, the other side of the coin in the grotto is where for every yin, there's a yang. If oxygen is coming out here, hydrogen is coming out in the grotto. And hydrogen is kind of what feeds the first system. And that I've beat the first system kind of to a dead horse, but I can go over it real quick. The hydrogen goes up to the top of the unit. Let's see if I can pull up a picture of the structure, make it a little bit easier to work with. The hydrogen, which comes out of there, comes up to the top of the structure where it's bled, or it's joined back together with air outside, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. The nitrogen kind of works its way out of the system, but it's the oxygen that burns back together with the hydrogen, and that's where you get water. Now, where do they get this electricity to burn it back together from, or the ignition? That's because the entire structure is designed to be a large Van de Graaff generator, if you will. And for that, you can go to surface.greatgizapyramid.com. And there was a gentleman back in the 1800s that made this wonderful bar graph here, which denotes down to the inch, to the fraction of the inch, the elevations and deviations of each of the steps of the Great Giza Pyramid. And he actually measured it at each of the four corners. And there's more details in a little scrapbook where you can get really detailed on it. And what I'm really looking for is there was a guy in the late 2000, 2018, 19-ish, actually did the same thing with a stereo drone. And I want to eventually be able to put that into CAD and 3D print myself a model of the 3D structure that I can like hug and kiss and do nasty things with jelly. Anyway, this entire structure is designed to quarantine the ambient static electricity to the surface of the structure, the top 2/3 of it, to be honest with you. And up here, while it's playing with it, is where they, if you notice the King's Chamber, the only area that in it, they call it the King's Chamber, I call it the Combustion Chamber. Where do I have pictures of it? I have hundreds of pictures and I can't find them right now. Anyway, in there, the one area that isn't flush against the wall is the entrance from the south side, the one they like to call the air shaft, the only one that pierces the structure, this guy right here. And it comes out to this point right here, which is just outside the lip. If you look at it from an angle, if I can get it in a wireframe diagram, I'll stick it in here sometime to make it easier to visualize. But that sticks out like a sore thumb, the ambient static electricity from the outside. Anyone who's worked with a hydrogen balloon, which less and less people do these days, here, this is what I'm talking about. This right here, it actually protrudes out from the wall about 1/3 of an inch. And that is the spot where the static electricity will actually play with. We'll focus in on that. If I could zoom out, this is where a discontinuity in static electricity will occur, and a static electric like little spark will happen at the perfect spot with hydrogen and oxygen within the room. That will be like the little click 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 on your grill that starts this whole thing ablaze. And if for some reason it blows out, you wait a little bit and nature will reset it, because static electricity will eventually have a discontinuity. There will eventually be a spark, and since we made sure, we ensured that hydrogen and oxygen are in that room, nature will put 2 and 2 together and get water. And well, the way this, and this is a perfect example of it here. This structure here is designed. This is the Barber structure, and she asked me to explain how one is negative and one is positive. This structure here is primarily smooth. This top area here is 9 feet. Although it looks small on my screen, this is 9 feet in diameter. Where the other structure, and I have a bunch of pictures of it so you can look at it. I don't try to hide it from you. The other structure, the Anna structure, its top is actually flat. How come? Oh, because I segregated it out. Hang on a second. Give me a second. Go back to Anna. How come I don't have pictures of it? I have lots of pictures of it. I just can't find them right now. The top of the Great Giza Pyramid, which is, sorry, I need to stall here for a second while I find the image. And yeah, go ahead, stop a moment, because I know I have these images. This is killing me. Okay, now this is the top of the primary, the Anna structure, and other than the fact that they finally took this antenna down, I think because I was pointing out that it's there to relieve the ambient static electricity. In fact, it's a 3-point antenna. This right here was the lead that went to the ground to suck up the static electricity to make sure they vented it out into the non-existent ether. But this area is intended to be flat so that the static electricity ambient upon the structure would actually be quarantined to the structure in the format I was suggesting based off this image here, which was, I mean, I didn't make it up. This guy in the 1800s made it up, Bergdahl or something like that. You can go through this in history. I just don't. My view of the system doesn't agree with the tomb dogma, but facts are facts. So when I yes, what one of them is venting the static electricity, where the other one is quarantining the static electricity. And no matter what you do, if one of them is venting and one of them is quarantining, one of them is going to have more ambient static electricity than the other. The one that has more static electricity is going to be technically your negative side, and the one that has less static electricity is technically your positive side. When you look at it, the positive side is the one that is going to be yielding the oxygen. The negative side is the one that's going to be yielding the hydrogen. The Anna structure is your negative side. Your Barbara structure is your positive side. And that is how the liquid, which is actually strung between them, that the whole the whole plateau. In fact, this structure is actually important. We'll get to that in a few moments. But that is how the liquids within the structure are stretched and pulled apart, and how they segregate which gas goes where. Nature is going to strip them apart no matter what, but by creating an environment where one is happier in a different location is how they segregated which one was oxygen and which one was hydrogen. Now, I showed you the well, which is located right there, and I'm going to show you how important everything is when we talk about elevations. Let's go really quick to the Carolina structure, and let's really quick look at this. I'm going to suggest to you, with all earnesty, that the that well, wishing well, its roof line is going to be, if I can zoom in on this. I don't know if I can in this particular. No, well, let me zoom in on this particular view. But its roof line is going to be the same as the top of this chamber right here. And its floor line is going to be the same as the bottom of this conduit that comes out of this room. And that will maintain in this, which is the third structure, the Carolina structure. I've always told you this is content that will maintain the pressures of this room. The only way out is maintaining them within this room. Need enough pressure to spill out, because they would spill out of the system. That's all one huge system. They would spill out naturally in the well room, out of the wishing well. But they can't spill out of the wishing well, because if I go back to the Barbara pictures, because in here they can't ever create enough pressure to push down to get out underneath this bubble, because of the pressure in the wishing well. The amount of pressure they would have to exceed, they're pushing back against nature, the air outside. It can't be done. You can't fight nature. You can manipulate it, but nature is nature. It's got, that 14.1 inches per square foot of pressure. That's a lot when you look at it, and you can't really fight against it. And that they use it all over the place. The hole that I was talking about, our favorite hole picture, the one over here, the hole. It is also a pressure keeper, like I was saying, because it, as the liquid comes out of here, is fighting up against nature. And like I was showing you, it can never achieve an elevation. Once it breaks here, the average is whatever's in this channel. If this channel is a heavy flow, then there's enough pressure to push back. If it isn't, then the flow will go here. So this is like a switch going back and forth. And it's a variable that keeps the wish-wash, the part where I said it washes out and comes back. It keeps that wish-wash at play, but it maintains its play within this very tight stipulation. And that very tight stipulation there, when we hop over the grotto, I didn't pull it out. When we hop over the grotto images, which I really should have, I'm going to put these in a better order so I can find them easier next time. I have a really cool picture of the grotto, and I can't find it right now, but I'm going to have to BS it. In the grotto, it is such that the lower section scoops up again like the helping hands, one over the other. And as the water oscillates up and down, that very few oh, there it is. That very few 6 inches. Okay, this right here is the elevation of the spillway, the Lynn level. The water here is going to be oscillating up and down, and in doing so, it's going to be at one instant putting pressure on the water. At the next instant, as the water, the pressures, I'm going to suggest to you there's an opening right here. There are holes drilled in the southern wall, 2 of them. One I'm going to suggest to you goes to the Karen room, the opening I've shown you a dozen times. The other one is the feed from the Barbara building. Um, as the pressures in the Barbara building are greater, the feed feeds into here, and as they uh, go down, it bounces back and forth. This right here, this little section here, is at the same elevation as the hole, and this will ensure that as the pressures are bouncing up and down, this water will go sometimes into vacuum, sometimes into pressure, sometimes into vacuum, sometimes into pressure. You get the idea? That oscillation is what is also helping to break the water into its 2 respective gases. If you take water and you put it into a vacuum, you put it into a vacuum chamber, it will start to boil at room temperature. As soon as you release pressure, the gases come out of the water. They break. This again is science 101. Nothing I'm suggesting is out of space, outer space, or anything like that. This can be recreated. Um, I am eventually going to recreate this structure. Now, another piece that's very relevant at this exact same elevation is if you look at, we go back to here, you know, the area right here where they broke through, right there is again at this same elevation, and it is like a valve, it is like a switch. And I'm trying to think if I actually have pictures in that area. I have it in video, but I don't know if I have it in a actual picture. But it's this area right here where they kind of broke through. You kind of have to go through a hole to get down into this corridor. They say they broke through a wall that was immediately behind that. That right there would allow, I'm going to suggest to you that oxygen primarily came out of the area down here. The oxygen would come up, and as it had to go past that switch right there, that exact elevation played with the hole outside of the Barbara structure to put the entire structure, this and the other structure, under a 2 inches or 2 or 3 inches of pressure. This would actually, again, 1,500 feet away, would play with the pressures that came out of the hole. And the hole was a constantly moving, because the water was flowing, constantly moving pressure thing, which would create a variable which constantly keep playing. The water going, flushing and refilling would constantly keep playing. This whole structure was designed so that it bounced back and forth within the 3 to 6 inches of play, constantly playing with the water, tearing it one way or the other. And all of that was the work, the force behind everything that then they squished, pulled, and pressed to make the system come to life. Do you follow that? And do you think I'm on Space Alien Gray, or go ahead? All right, so now you've got a grasp of the pressures involved at ground level. Now, the Karen room, we'll jump to real quick. In there, we already discussed how the gas, in this case, I'm going to suggest you the origin is from the Barbara building, would come in through here after it traversed the system, would come into here, bubble into here to maintain the pressure pushing down on the gas against the liquids in here until it reached this, and then it would relieve to make sure that it didn't achieve a pressure greater than the squishing power of squishing down to this elevation to where my mouse is there. Down, yes, all the cracks, all of the cracks, yes, all of the cracks, yes. There must be a delay because you've asked the same question 3 times. The cracks are, you can see right here, there is a spot. And I was in more detail. You can, they are supposed to, they're part communication. And I'm trying to point out to you, right here is a spot where you can see a in cut dimple. And then right here's another one. And I'm going to suggest you the bottom edge here is the just above the small hole drilled there, and the edge of this is the same as the level of that. This is ensuring at a finite level the gases that will condensate and turn into liquid within this room, when you get to it, they have down to better than rocket science. But this gas, when it condensates and turns into a liquid, they tease it this direction through the crack as you put out. You just imagine a drip of water, and as that drip of water is falling, which way gravity will take it and how they tease it over into this area, this pool right here, which then gets sucked back into the room, because they honestly don't want any of their precious element, which I'm suggesting to you may be deuterium, their precious element, to escape the system. They want to make sure that when it condensates, they segregate out its condensation from the regular condensation, and they want to make sure that they tease it back into the system. They left nothing to chance. Now, even if this doesn't mechanically function, which I honestly think it did because of the scarring, but even if it didn't mechanically function, they're still showing you that they knew, when we get down to it, the density of liquids and their condensation points down to a super duper fine science. But these were knuckle dragging people. Don't worry about it. Now, the this right here is another hole, and this, I'm going to suggest to you, this is all below the 60-foot mark, and we're going to be talking about the more dense liquid that would fill here. And just look at it as if you were actually pouring liquid out of here. It would pour into here. You can see that once it's into here, it'll then spill over. This is about, half an inch lower. It'll spill over into here, fill into here, and then I'm going to suggest you that it goes out the side where it, I think I've showed you this in previous videos. There is at ground level, 29.979, comma 31,134. It right over here, there is an opening. Yeah, right about there. There is an opening at ground level, which came out of here, and there used to be an opening right here, which they sealed up about 5 years ago. That part we kind of discussed in the last video. When you look at this, you can see where they took some stuff apart, but there a half a decade ago there was a scaffolding set up here, and right now the opening is magically sealed up. But we know there was an opening because the photo you know, you can see daylight there. And in fact, I liked it so much. I have Karen 2, uh, Karen 2 dot, where I found a picture which is actually how come I spelled your name wrong? Karen 2, where I actually have a image. 3, 2, 1, that you can see better out that door. And this has all been removed. See this, you know, daylight. Hello, see that daylight? And now, hello, no daylight anymore. Something went on. You know, we're not going to talk too much about this, but the area over here, which I can't get to, there used to be a way. I think it was this one, and then you had to look past the speakers. Nope, there was another one where the guy was standing on top of that, and you can see past the speakers. See if I can't find it real quick. Let's just try there for the heck of it. Nope, one more step. There. Okay. Right there's the opening I talk about. Right there. Okay. So again, I don't have to make any of this up. And this area right here, this area would maintain again density. The pool here works in conjunction with the pool here, all of these pools, which are below ground level. In fact, this is a better picture. Would fill this pool, spill into here, fill through here, spill out. Now the liquid in here is actually going to be a tiny bit less dense liquid, but it maintains and spills out at just a slightly lower elevation. And this maintains a density, like if you had oil and water, to make sure that the liquid in here uh, it maintains the buoyancy within the room. And if someday I recreate it, I'll use like oil and water and you know uh, vinegar to demonstrate the different densities. But you can just imagine when you spill something into here, it'll fill there once it's reached its point. But this liquid will actually be at a higher elevation. So this liquid will play with it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You see this circle here, that's communication, and this is drilled to the side of it. This works with getting the more heavier of the liquid out of the picture, because that's when we play with it and all the densities of water, there are different, it's not just water and ice. Yes, it keeps it flowing, and it also segregates out the minutia of the different densities of water. There, when you get into it, there are, like that bubbly lady on the TED Talk talks about, there are 74 different states of water at room temperature, just the way water bonds and its frequencies, and that's just what we've recorded right there. And the system is so fine tuned that it isolates out those different frequencies. Some of those frequencies have slightly different densities, which doesn't matter really when you're drinking a glass of water. But when you have an Olympic sized swimming pool and you can isolate out one of the particular frequencies and take it out of the picture, then you know these guys are showing you that they had this down to rocket science. They knew the different densities and stuff so much that the 2 or 3 inches of play right there, they were able to isolate out just by the pressures in the room, the different densities. And I like this picture because it's a little bit cleaner too. And it doesn't have the someday if someone is ever able to break it down, so I don't have a distorted thing here because I'm looking for certain key information and a better picture would help. Um, Anyway, I think I've beat this room to the dead pulp. So let's jump over to the third structure, and we'll discuss it real quick. The Carolina structure right there. We've talked about how the wishing they well, they're all on different elevations, but they are, well, you have to look at them all together as a unit, because it's like a big big habit trail, if you will. I closed one of my windows, but I don't know which one I closed. So we're done with this picture. These are my images. This right here is the top of the structure too. See my beautiful QR codes. Anyway, the third structure here is the highest in elevation at its base, and its height is 1/2 of the other two structures. Um, it, I'd say down to the foot, but it actually is, and it's not down to the foot as you visually see them. It's down to the foot mathematically. I guess I go over that in my pyramid phrenology when I talk about how the structure itself is 1/2 of the other structures, and that's because when you're dealing with static, the higher in elevation you go, the higher the frequency. And that again is all science 101. It goes back to the fluorescent light bulbs being played with under a high tension power line. The highest in elevation fluorescent light bulb is the one that gets the energy. The other ones miss out. And the whole way the structures are set, they focus the energy the way they want it to go. And if you don't understand the way the system is flowing, then talking about how the energy flows is irrelevant. So let's hop back into here real quick. Either one of these. This is a good one. The area that I said was the wishing well, the well. Well, yes. Again, when you understand what it's doing, I think it's easier to visualize. And if I had to recreate it, I probably could, out of um, just understanding what it's doing. If we go to wishing well, this guy right here, you see that it's above the ground. So ground level is actually, if I can get it to pause, but I don't think I can. Yeah, there we go. Can I get it to pause where I want it to? There we go. Ground level is right about here where my mouse is. All this is above ground level. So whatever liquid is in here is coming up to this level, and the pressures involved, it would have, as it lifts up, it's lifting up against nature, against, the pressures outside the system. This top level here, this top lip, that is going to be the top of here. The liquids in here will never be able to achieve that level unless something drastic happens. But the intention is this right here is ground level of the area right here, actually, right there. And that is so that nature is always like its hand pushing down upon the liquids in this room. And as far as them being able to go any lower, they can't because of the construction in the Barbara room right here, because they can't go below this. Actually, not that lip. It's this lip right here, for the same reason, because of the elevations here. It's trapped. The gases in this room are trapped in this elevation bubble. They have no choice because nature has trapped them. And then they are quarantined, and they are actually, I believe they are brought out through the same conduit that goes out to the wishing well, is the same conduit, because they're actually, the gases aren't what they're trapping. They're trapping the liquid at that pressure. The gases are just the ends, the means to an end. It's the liquid trapped at that pressure, which is then coaxed over into this building here, trapped at this elevation. And then from there, we're able to suck it out because we ourselves put a negative pressure outside the structure at the area ARTITs dot, if I spelt that right. No, I didn't spell it right. Okay, that's fine. I know where it is. Go back to our map and we drop our little Google guy right here, and it's going to bounce over to here. This area right here, the flat spot right there, that hole right there, you see it? Which I actually have a better image of right here. That hole right here is the extraction point. We put something over here, like a like a rubber mallet, and just or like a rubber cover, and add a little bit of negative pressure that looked like a straw, like you sucking milk out of a glass. That will take the gas, which is or the liquid gas, whatever it is, whatever the harvest is that is at this elevation, and suck it out the straw, and then that's how you pull it out. Now, the liquids that are down here and are a like type scenario. So we've just now you understand how that harvest is harvested. The liquids down here are in a like type scenario, and I'm just going to tell you the whole system has to constantly be at play. I think it's because it's pulling not only the gases and elements and compounds, the liquids, it's also moving electricity. And the current has to always be flowing. This structure here, just imagine it, that this gas here is actually at a tiny bit of a negative pressure. And as such, the liquid in here is always being sucked up, as you will. And as it gets sucked up, it reaches a point where it fills into the room and it spills over into here, spills back down into here because the pressure's involved. It wash, rinse, and repeats and does it again. This is a constant flow. It can never achieve an elevation higher than that opening in there. And as such, it can never achieve an elevation higher than the halfway mark down this hallway. So from here, a negative pressure can be applied again, and then it will come up because this is under pressure itself, and we'll discuss how and why. But as soon as a negative pressure, just something other than the ambient outside pressure is applied to it, or unapplied in this case, like a straw, that liquid will gladly come up out of this and would exit out of the structure to its primary opening, which is located right here. Again, I don't, nothing special has to happen. In fact, such little pressure has to be applied to it because it'll gladly, naturally come up to this elevation. And I'm going to suggest to you that elevation right there is actually controlled by shadow. Yeah, didn't tell you about that one yet. Shadow.greatgizapyramid.com is the backside of when you go to hot tub, you're standing over here. This is the backside of it. This right here and that right here. This is the high pressure side. This is the low pressure side I was talking about. You notice they align with the bottom of here, and this one aligns with the bottom of the RT's opening right there. So this is what maintains the pressure within these two columns here, the high pressure column and the low pressure column, which is controlled by delta here, when the water flows into here, the more water that flows into delta, maximum elevation can, once it's achieved, would be, sure, ask away. Well, why didn't they put the pipework underground instead of it being opposed to the air? Well, most of the reason is air, the nature, is what they used as a control valve. The whole purpose of the wishing well is to use the outside ambient air as the pressure to control what's on the inside. They didn't use mechanical control valves, they used nature. The whole reason for the area in the delta area is it's always going to be at an elevation slightly above the moon pool. The moon pool will always be at an elevation slightly above the wedge pool. And all these are controlled by the outside air pressure pushing down upon them, the pounds per square inch of nature outside. They let nature be part of the control system. The delta area here that I say is constantly being filled and unfilled and actually goes to a lower elevation. The lowest elevation it would go is let's go to hot tub, is the area I was pointing out to you the other day, the bottom of this right here. The lowest point, this column, which is the high pressure column, it goes from all the way up there to all the way down here. Its lowest point is the point where delta, you got an airplane? Oh, a motorbike. Um, how did that not work? Oh, because I didn't put probably because I put an S. http://delta.greatgizapyramid.com. That should, it's not working. I'm embarrassing myself now. There we go. That shows you this area here. You see how low it goes. This is the lowest point on the plane. This right here is the delta area. You can see they were digging it out. This pile of dirt shouldn't be there. But this pool of water here would never go below, actually it would fill, you can almost see the water line right there. The elevation right there would be the water line. This actually sticks out above it. That's part of communication. We'll get into that later. But this area here would be the delta. Water would be constantly flowing in on here. I'm going to suggest to you it's the back pressure to the system, which I'll explain to you in a second. And the same way the pool outside the outside the hole has a guaranteed minimum and a guaranteed maximum, but is constantly changing. It's a variable. This delta here is, again, a constant variable with a maximum of it will never go more than 3 inches, actually more than 6 inches above the 65-foot mark, which would be more than 3 inches above the hole mark. And it will never go below the elevation of this edge right here. In fact, it should ride about an inch above it. So that it has a play constantly, but it's within a range. So it's not a constant, but it is within a range. This right here, this this right here is part of the area that was kappa. This right here is kappa. This is delta. This is kappa, which alpha, beta, kappa, delta. This is the area which is next to the hole, and is the highest in elevation right here, which would then spill over. You can even see alpha being here, beta being here, kappa we're standing in, and delta is over here. Those were the 4 pools. So alpha was the okay. Well, going back to hot tub, we have the high pressure zone, a high pressure column, and the low pressure column. This here would have a maximum pressure with the gases pushing down, maximum pressure it could push down to be here because the water would flow out. So that's a hard stop. That's a hard stop. This column will always be under less pressure than this column. Just mathematically, the amount of pressure it has, this one will have enough pressure to push gases or push the liquid down from this elevation to this elevation, and this elevation is not fixed. This is the delta elevation, so that's constantly changing, but it'll always be at a higher pressure than this. Mathematically, it'll always be at a higher pressure. This one here is more of a constant pressure. It'll always be lower than that one. So now let's talk about how those two pressures play. When they're on the plateau, they come from here. This is one of the feeders. This is at 90 feet in elevation, 94 feet in elevation, if you want to be more accurate. It feeds at a 45-degree angle down to here, the area I call comb. This here, actually, when you look at the ground penetrating radar at a 45-degree angle, there is a conduit that comes down. It terminates about there. I'm going to suggest you it terminates at about 80 feet above elevation, and then has a approximately waterfall that comes down and has the lowest point in its waterfall, which will be at about just below 60 feet in elevation. And that waterfall is actually in the rock. The reason for the waterfall is it will allow the water to pierce the 65-foot mark. It actually pierces a 60-foot mark, and with it brings air down into the water with the air, bringing air bubbles down under the surface of the water to create the bubbles, create the pressure that is noted in the hot tub area. It's going to create 2 different columns of pressure, the low column of pressure and the high column of pressure. And all of this happens, as you so pointed out, underground. So it's hard to prove it to you, although I've seen the schematics. You can too. You can go to blueprints.greatgizapyramid.com and you can go down that rabbit hole. But either way, this area is broken into zones. And for this, it's easier to go onto Google Earth. And when we go to Google Earth, it has a feature that Google Maps doesn't. So let me pull up. And when you see this, you will probably not believe me, but it's it is what it is. So we're going to start right here, and we're going to pull up the measurement tool, which is I think is Control-Shift-M. Perfect. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into feet, because the people back then, they had no idea what a meter was. When we have this in feet, we get a couple of really cool things. First off, 1/24th of a mile, 220 feet, is this first wall right here. Okay? At this section right here, which is 440 feet, which would be 1/12th of a mile, you can see the break right here and the edge of this right here, actually. There is the edge right here. It's not the edge of this, it's the edge of that, but that's beside the point. At 660 feet is the other side. What I'll point out real quick is that 1/10 of a mile, 528 feet, is the top. This is the picture slightly off, but you have to trust me when you actually look at it from a true satellite. It's at 1/10 of a mile from this marker there. Another one is this wall down here that I was suggesting you. That's at 880 feet. Actually, the 880 feet is the opening right there. This is slightly back from it, and that's because this is our actual the target. And I suggest you that water sprays onto this area here. This is the actual working zone right there. Is that area. Now, 1,300 feet to the penny is this end right here, the end of delta. Okay, that's because this is all mapped out. I think it's 880. The next step was like 1220 or something. Anyway, that's the edge of delta. The other side of kappa right there is another mark. I forget what it is. Whatever 110. Oh, it would be 1100. No, it's this. Whatever it is right here is another division of a 12th of a mile. Whatever that comes out to, it's the other side of delta. So you can see this whole thing was mapped out. Now I'm also going to show you, let's go into the 10th of a mile. 1/10 of a mile there, 1025. Oh, that's what it was. It was 2/10 of a mile. Whatever 2/10 of a mile is, 528 and 528. Whatever that adds up to right here, that's the side of delta. And then you go 1/10 of a mile more to the foot is the where we stand if we did waterfall. One more 1/10 of a mile brings you to the middle of these pyramids here. So this whole thing was honestly mapped out. They used the grid points, the conventional units we use today. They didn't know what meters were. It broke it down into zones. You have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. You have right here, we're going to talk about the low pressure zone and the high pressure zone. Within this system, they used it so the water coming in this way is fighting against the water that fills here and back pressures this way to make a super high pressure zone within here. That is what is squirting the water out here at its highest point. These other 5 things that are right here squirt water over here into the pool. And the main thing that now you understand about the high pressure and the low pressure, I'll show you real quick when we go to the barb right here and we jump back to this one. Now, I like the one that's the drawing. This, you have 2 openings here, here, and here. Now, you notice this right here. This right here is coming from the low pressure. I'm going to suggest that to you. This one right here is which is penned out, but right here there's a box that's coming from the high pressure zone. This is liquid coming into here from the high pressure area, pushing down high pressure, and it's not a constant. It's a pounding of high pressure, just like how the whole system is bouncing. Everything here is at a constant. It's all in motion, but it has a guaranteed high and a guaranteed low because they maintain pressures within certain regions, within certain qualifiers. This right here will always be putting pressure down upon the liquid here, so much so that it's going to pressure-wise bring the surface of the water down, making the water think it's at a column of a higher elevation of water. Again, that will take the pool at the end and make it now under a tiny bit more pressure. The high pressure here is going to be a variable which will sometimes be even higher than the pressure here because it's the high pressure, and sometimes be less because the way the water is spurting out, as it spurts out of those 5 openings, it relieves pressure until it resets, more water comes in, it recreates its pressure, and then it spurts out again. So it's kind of going to be like shooting spurt, 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 spurt. It's not going to be a constant, continuous flow. And the whole randomness is what really helps the system churn and mix. Now, nothing I have said during this whole conversation is anything that cannot be recreated and is outside the rules of physics. Everything is straightforward, and this is what this system will do when water is applied to it. And uh, well, that this is a perfect time to wrap it up.
Right, well, I'm back now after listening to an exceptional hour and a half, nearly 2 hours of Angel. That was brilliant, Angel.
Well, thank you. I do my best.
Yeah, because I said when you asked me, but you talk more about what's in the pyramids rather than before. I mean, rather than how the water and how the level and everything. I don't think people. I mean, even when you look at this picture, you could see from this picture on Google that the houses are lower than the mount, and I don't think a lot of people realise even that.
Well, I really think I'm on 2 avenues of thought. Number one, that there are people at the Vatican, the Rand Corporation, and MI5 that actually know what's happening. The Masters of Prion and the Templars that know the technology that this structure has. And then there's your standard the explorers and stuff like that, Egyptian archaeologists and stuff. They don't know what they have because they're looking at it thinking mentally that these people were primitive knuckle dragging people, where reality is if they looked at it then actually looked at it and said, what would water do? It's obvious that this is a machine. It's obvious that it performed a function. If you do nothing other than apply water to it, it will do magical stuff. It does a whole lot of Mr. Wizard stuff. But number one, it's in a desert, so people can't visualize water there. And number two, they have their head in the tomb dogma. And because they have the head in the tomb dogma, they can't visualize it the way that it was in its heyday.
You know what? When people are told that it's a tomb and they've believed it for years, they can't get that out of their head. But I knew when you told us the first time, years ago, because it's been about 10 years since we've been talking to each other, that I could see what you were saying and that it definitely wasn't a tomb.
Well, I thank you for being with me for 10 years. Cause
yeah, we have. We've been together on chats for 10 years.
I would have given up on myself a long time ago.
No, you've changed some of the things a little bit as well as you've evolved. And
well, I've learned. I've found where I had mistakes.
Well, no one would ever look into the things that you are looking into.
Yeah, because I'm the only idiot on the country, on the planet.
You should be proud of yourself, Angel, because you are a clever bunny, as I've always said. But you should be proud of yourself that you've worked all this out. No one else has.
Well, thank you, and it is I guess probably my achievement of my life.
It is, well done. I mean, I told you I have to go in a moment, but this is called Jessica. So we can do it next time about Jessica, and we'll call it Jessica.
Well, it is Jessica, and I think in order to fully understand Jessica, well, you could, depending on where you're standing in the Jessica, and you can go to Jess.Great-Giza Pyramid, Ik.Great-Giza Pyramid, and Jessica.Great-Giza Pyramid. I think when you're at Jess is when you actually get the best view
And just like when you're standing at hot tub, if you understand what's happening within the structure, you can see how what's on the outside of the structure relates in elevation and almost communication, how what they're doing is relayed in physical form on the outside. And like I said, you can see the pressure zones. They're doing the same thing, two different pressure zones. One of them is slammed, like I was talking to you. The one on the left side is slammed. You can see how it comes out, and then it goes down very abruptly, and then it's flat again. And the other side you look at is at an angle. It looks like a wheelchair ramp, and that's because it's ramped up. And that is explaining to you what they're doing on the inside of the structure. They're smashing it violently, and with that, slowly ramping up the pressure of the entire structure. And it's right there in stone. Only if you don't understand what's happening on the inside, the communication on the outside, it's like pearls before swine. And that's where I end today.
And that's where the lesson ends. How did
Thank
you...
Come back next week.
We will do another one very soon. We always do, don't we, Angel? It's not very often we have that many months apart. And if we do, we talk on the phone to each other, because I call you up sometimes, don't I?
Well, that's because we're friends on the backside.
Yes. What was I going to say? On this picture I've got of Google Maps, you can see the pyramid, then you can see the plateau where you were talking about all that stuff, and then it drops down there quite a lot.
Oh yes, the plateau actually drops all the way down to about 20 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we get into it, I will explain to you eventually how the area outside the Sphinx is on the same elevation as the lowest point within the Carolina chamber.
Yeah.
And they actually work together as well. Nothing on the plateau is there by mistake. It is all.
Oh, they built something on the side of one of those pyramids.
Well, current day people have built lots of things. You know, they're selling tomatoes.
It's all
and hats.
underneath the hole in the pyramid. But today, I think you did a...
Well, thank you.
And we put it all in, because when I did it, it was just awful. It really...
Well,
I can't find it.
You weren't really focusing on where I wanted you to focus.
Yeah, it was a bit
because
difficult, isn't it?
You didn't know what you were looking at yet.
I'm not you. I can't do it.
Well, I also know my keywords like the back of my heart because I made them.
Yeah, you even remember the coordinates of where things are on Google Maps.
Well, it's just because I use them all the time in my sleep.
Yeah, you're building it, you're working it out in your sleep. But I've really enjoyed today. People don't get... I think you should copy that and put it on your channel. Angel.
Well, if you could give me a link to the high def, either on your...
I will. You don't even have to use us talking. You can just get the video sent and then cut us talking off if you want, and just use the bit in the middle.
Well, I will.
But you better not cut me off.
I try not to.
And just one other thing. You heard in there that Angel called this room Karen's room, so I'm honoured in Angel's work. But I was there, I think, and he thought, I'll call it Karen's room. But I'm quite an honour to think that on Angel's work, I'm mentioned.
Well, you made a dent in the whole process.
What, you mean because I bug you?
No, I mean, me trying to explain it to me and your avenue of letting me share it with the world, you put a mark on me, and as such, you put a mark on my research. So
yeah, that's why I think you should copy this one.
Okay.
Well, you should copy all of them, maybe, but copy this one.
I copy all of them. I have a copy of everything you've done.
Oh, really? Oh, my
Other than
goodness.
a decade ago when we used to do the hour-long things, because at that point I didn't have...
3 hours they were.
Yeah, we did one that was like 10.
Yeah, for everybody that doesn't know, we used to go live then. And I showed myself for quite a long time, and then someone was horrible to me, and I decided not to show myself. But Angel did. Angel showed himself.
Yeah. I didn't have a way to back.
Oh. Yeah, sorry, somebody rang me again. It's suspected spam. Not answering that. And anyway, I'm talking to Angel.
That's one of the other advantages of having multiple Facebook accounts. Is I have accounts that I don't give anybody my name.
Oh, that wasn't you. Yeah, I found today was brilliant, and I made such a bad job of it last week. So really, it's a rerun, but the other half I should have got on there, but it was messing around so much, and all these pictures Angel was sending me to, and I couldn't find them, and things were wrong. I had a bit of a head block that day.
I think it's when people type it in, by default, many of the browsers go to HTTPS, which is a secure link. It's Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure. I don't pay for an SSL subscription. I don't pay for a secure link. I'm not selling you T-shirts. I don't want your credit card information. So it's always going to tell you, ooh, this is a dangerous website and don't give any information. That's great. Don't give me any information. I'm trying to give you information. So it's HTTP, and then it's whatever the keyword dot, and it's greatgizapyramid.com. That's simple. If you want, you can shorten it to ggiza.com because I own that domain as well, and I echo everything on there.
Yeah, Angel is a pyramid.
Yes, I tried to be.
Lives and breathes it, but I well appreciate all the effort and hard work that you've done, because no one's paying you, are you? And you're like a lecturer now.
I do eventually. You've seen the artwork for my T-shirt that I'm trying to do. In fact, that's what you could put up on the screen is greatgizapyramid.com/art. You can see the images that I have.
Well, can we do that next time?
Well, I'm just saying you can show them right now.
Okay,
but either way,
well, I know, but now I've got to do things. I've got to go in a minute, Angel.
All right, well, you go. You have a great day.
But we can show those next time. We can have a few minutes on them.
You're right. Well, it's only an image. It doesn't take much time to look at it.
All right, I'm doing it now. What is it? Wait a minute. So it's gone then. Oh.
greatgizapyramid.com/art.
Wait a minute. Let me get rid of the header bar. It's going to get. Oh, it's not helping me. What am I doing wrong? Let's have a look. Hang on. Let's get that off. Oh, it's so long. Whatever was on there. Off Google Maps. Right. So what was it again? I'm very sorry.
greatgizapyramid.com.
Great. Giza. One
Giza.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, greatgizapyramid.com.
.com.
And then just hit enter. And when you go to the website, all the way down at the bottom is art. On the bottom on the left-hand side.
Okay, we're waiting for it to go. Oh,
Take the S.
It says it can't be reached. What have I got? Great.
Take the S out. Take the S out.
I haven't got an S. Oh, on here you mean, on the beginning bit. Oh my God, it's just taken the whole thing off.
It's all right. You by now anybody else could have typed it in. So
right, wait a minute, I've got it back now, so I need to just take the S off. Right. Wait, let me. Right, here I am. Let's go there. Oh my God, that's there. Off. Right, here we go again.
Do you see a picture of my smiling face?
No, it's got nothing. I've got greatgiza.com.
Hey, just do this. Even easier. Just type ggiza.com.
GGIZ. Yeah.
A.com.
I've got
and
that.
And then hit enter.
We've got that. Let's just hope it takes me there. I think it might, actually. Because the header bar's showing something different, but it's taking ages. It'd been better if you'd done it.
Well, you can't see my screen right now.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Then don't worry about it. It's all good. We'll do it again another time.
Yeah, we'll stop there, because otherwise they just see this site can't be reached. But we'll show your... Is it the picture that's on your Facebook?
You can go to my Facebook. My Facebook is great. If you go to my Facebook, that works out well, too.
Hang on. All right, we're going to try here. There it is. It's the little man, yeah?
I don't know about a little man, but...
It's a picture of, like... It looks like it should be with the little dog. What was that one called? There it is. It's the man. That's your new artwork, yeah? On your Facebook.
I can't see what you're looking at, so I don't know about the man.
The picture, the icon that's on your angel. The picture that's on this one.
All right, you can... But it's not a man.
What is it then? It's a squiggle with eyes and like a plane.
I'm out of luck. I
Go to
really,
your photos. I'm going to your photos. Where is it? We'll have a look. Oh, well, now we're looking at Angel's photographs. I don't see it, Angel. It's just loads of pictures of you.
What? They're pictures of me?
Yeah, I'm on Angel.
Well, I don't know what you're at then.
I'm on Angel. Where's the picture that you want me to see?
If you go to ggiza.com and then
ggiza.com.
and then put slash.
Oh, I didn't do that. Hang on.
That's all right. You don't have to. If you get to there, that's fine too. If you get to just land somewhere and tell me it's at least one
there.
of my
I'm
pages.
on your site now. Thank goodness for that.
Okay. Now, do you have a bar on the left side? A title bar on the left? Okay. Go down all the way down to the bottom. It says art.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on now. Don't worry. I'm doing it now. For you, Angel. Oh, those ones. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Those Angel's art.
All right. Are we live?
We're still going, Angel.
All right. That I was considering putting those on a T-shirt, but I mean, other than hey, buy my T-shirt, I don't know what to say. But maybe if I get a following, it would be nice for people to have that. So it is both maybe somebody would buy a T-shirt. I don't know if somebody would buy a T-shirt. I think you can add
that to your Facebook.
Well, it is on my Facebook as well.
No, on your YouTube account.
Oh, to buy it through. Oh, I see what you're saying. You know, I've never tried merchandising. Merchandising is new. I've never been trying to make money. I've been trying to relay information. I've been trying to relay what I believe is the truth. And that was my goal. My goal was really not to make money. My goal was to spread the truth.
Yeah, you've definitely done that. You taught me masses, but I've got to go now.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
Yeah, we will go now. And we'll just come back maybe next week or the week after and do Jessica.
Sure.
Okay.
I have no problem.
And I'll probably put this out on Sunday. Oh, what are we calling it, Angel, before you go? What are we calling it?
We call it your name is better than whatever you pick. I'm not picky.
What do we put? The truth about the Great Giza pyramids.
The basic system flow of the Great Giza pyramid. I don't know. Whatever you want. You think of a name. Think of it over the next 4 days. It doesn't bother me.
Basic system flow of the pyramids.
A new look at an old structure. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. All right. I'll sort that out in a minute. But it's been a pleasure for today, and thank you so much, because you're just like a talking book.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And you have a great day.
All right, Angel. Lots of love. So get in touch next week. Early next week. Yeah. All right. Love you lots. And I'll send you this when it's done. Anyway, love you lots.
Bye-bye.
Bye, darling.